we are planting my favorite crop right now, potatoes. I love growing potatoes so much. One of the reasons is because they have a great shelf life in the pantry. It's such a great staple food. We eat a lot of potatoes. I just love potatoes. So this is one of the first crops that I plant. I'm going to show you how I plant potatoes, how the potatoes will grow throughout the season. But before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for more health and homesteading content. The first most common question I get about potatoes is, where should I get my potato seed? It doesn't look like seeds that you are growing flowers or other vegetables from. You're literally growing from just smaller potatoes just like this. I'm not a fan of getting potatoes from the grocery or other kitchen scraps from the grocery to grow in the garden because number one, we don't know what variety those are and if they're suitable for our zone, but also potatoes can be sprayed with a sprout inhibitor. And that means without sprouts, you're not gonna get potatoes. You want a potato that's sprouting, just like this one. These are all eyes on the potato, and you can check out my other video on how or why you might cut open the potatoes, also known as chit your potatoes, in order to get more. So what variety do you choose? Well, there's gonna be varieties that are tried and true for different zones. Where I'm at in 7B in North Georgia, a great go-to potato is any of the gold varieties. Rose gold, Yukon gold, and that's exactly what I'm planting. It's always fun to try some of the fancier or different varieties like the purple Adirondack or blue potatoes, but I will say that you should always go into those as an experiment and not a dependable potato. Go with the potato that is tried and true for your zone. Look up your area and best potato variety to grow. The whole purpose of chitting your potatoes is so that way you can get more potatoes out of, or more seed potato out of just one potato. And the way that works is you cut up your potato and make sure that you have at least one eye on each little chunk, and then you need to callus that over in order to plant it. It's like a 2-week process. I did not do that, but I've also found that there is some risk when doing that to those potatoes rotting. So this year, I'm not taking that risk. It's also kind of late since I just had a baby and I'm just getting around to planting these potatoes. I'm just gonna plant them whole. The other thing you need to know before you plant your potatoes is that as they grow, you're going to hill them. That means you're going to add compost or soil on top of your plants because they grow from the nodes of their little branches or their main stalk. That's where they grow potatoes. And so the more soil you add over the nodes as the plant grows, the more potatoes you get. So if you have a raised bed that's pretty low and needs to be topped off with compost, don't top it off with compost just yet. Plant your potatoes first, and as the potato plant grows, then add compost throughout the season. Now what you should know about this bed, it is a hugelkultur bed, meaning I've got layers of logs and sticks and mulch and soil in this bed. And it can take a bed like this years for everything to break down, but that's the whole point of hugelkultur. Make sure to check out that video. It's a great solution for long-term soil fertility. But it's important to take note of that as I'm about to plant these little bad boys because I can't plant directly in the top of this mound. That's where I've got layers of the logs and the branches. So I'm actually gonna be planting right along the sides. So the first thing I'm gonna do is dig my hole 4 to 6 inches deep. And I'm doing that along the side and putting a whole potato. Pop. I'm gonna keep that hole exposed so that way I see my spacing as I go around this spiral. Once we plant all these potatoes, we are not gonna water this bed. Root crops like this do just fine with an average rainfall. If you have any months where it's particularly dry or if you live in a place of drought, You'll know if your potatoes need water because the foliage will tell you. They'll start to wilt, and if you're observing your plants at least every day or every other day, you can immediately perk them up with some hand watering. But otherwise, do not water your potatoes. Some other problems that might pop up with your potato plants might be potato beetles. Depending on your ability to check on your plants and see what's going on, you'll first notice just by holes in the foliage. And when you see that, you want to try to find the bugs. You want to immediately squish them or put them in a big pot of water. If it starts to feel overwhelming and you don't have the physical capacity or time to remove these bugs by hand, your go-to organic pesticide is pyrethrin, which is a natural compound found in chrysanthemum flowers. I try not to spray my garden at all. I've never sprayed this garden, but I understand for some people it's impossible for them to tend to it, and if they want to save their crop, go with pyrethrin. You might see other smaller pests on your potato plants like cucumber beetles or flea beetles. Those are usually not a huge, they don't have a huge effect on the plants themselves. You can always hand smush them. For flea beetles, you can use sticky traps. And the last little bit of tips that you should know for planting your potatoes is inspect them, and if there's any rot on your potato, do not plant it. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to plant potatoes for success. If you like this video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for more health and homesteading content.